gone through your speech. Now you're going to conclude. The purpose of a conclusion in a speech is to wrap things up and stop. Now, there are different ways of conclusion you can accomplish this. My favorite is to circle to the opening. So if you open with a story about dogs, make a reference to that story at the conclusion. It's sort of like maybe the opening story ends with a minor cliffhanger, and you end the cliffhanger at the end. Basically, it circles it around, it makes a nice round speech, it gives it a nice feeling of conclusion. Another thing you can do in a conclusion is summarize. One way to organize your speech is to start it off saying, this is what I'm going to tell you. Then the body of the speech is, you tell them. And in the conclusion, you tell them, this is what I told you. So for example, in today's speech, I might have started off saying, today I'm going to talk about the opening, body, close. Then I tell you about them. And now at the end of the speech, I'm going to tell what I told you today was about the opening, the body, and the close. So summarize what you're going to say. You can also end it with a story. That story should illustrate what you've just been telling them. So if you were giving a speech about dog training, again, go back to the dog training analogy. So in step number 1, you do this to the dog, you teach the dog to do this, and you teach the dog to do this. Then in your conclusion, you tell a story. I once trained a dog, and you tell a story of how the dog illustrated those 3 points. That's another way. And the last way to conclude is with a call to action. Many times you're up here because you want people to take a certain action. That action could be to vote for a congressman. That action could be to buy your book at the back of the room. That action could be to sign up for some list that you do. That action could be to go to an event that you're trying to promote. So if your speech is trying to get people to do something, at the end of your speech you need to tell them what to do. So at the end of your speech you'll say something to the effect of, I really hope you enjoyed what I've had to say. If you'd like more information, please come up and put your name and email address on this clipboard. Something like that. I know this sounds kind of silly, but people need to be told what to do. And if you don't tell them point blankly what to do, they won't do it. Because a confused mind doesn't take action. So be very clear what it is you want your speech to accomplish, and then clearly state what you want people to take away at the end of your speech.
Do you recommend saying in conclusion, blah blah blah? But I've heard not to say that, but no.
It kind of depends on the style of speech you're giving. If it's an inspirational speech, saying in conclusion would seem out of place. But if you were going through a speech saying, it's like a debate, and you've been saying your point, in conclusion might make total sense. So it really depends on the kind of speech you're given.
Okay.
In general, things you want to avoid because they sound canned is in conclusion or to summarize. And the big no-no, which I always do, is at the very end say, thank you, and walk away. Okay. The reason why you don't want to say thank you at the end of your speech is because the audience should be thanking you for sharing what you just shared.